The story begins on a battlefield far from Earth. The planet's sky is red and black, filled with smoke and the smell of burning metal. The ground shakes every few seconds from explosions far away. This world once had cities and farms, but now only fire remains. High above the ruins, a group of alien commanders from the Zerath Empire stand on a broken platform, looking down at the scene below. Their silver armor glows in the firelight. They are tall, with sharp eyes and skin like dark stone. They speak in their cold, echoing voices. "Look at them," one commander says. "The monsters of Earth. Caged at last." Below them, inside a fenced pit, sit several human prisoners, soldiers from a destroyed colony. Their faces are tired, covered in dust and blood. Their uniforms are torn. They sit in silence, watching the alien guards move around them. For years, every race in the galaxy believed that humans were born killers, ruthless, violent, and impossible to control. Stories spread from world to world. How humans fought until the last breath, how they destroyed entire fleets rather than surrender. To the Zerath, the word human meant danger. Captain Ralos, one of the younger Zerath officers, stands beside the commander. He stares down at the prisoners, curious. He had fought humans before, and from a distance. He had never seen one up close. His eyes stop on one prisoner, a man sitting alone, his head bowed. His name is Commander Ethan Ward. His hands are tied, his uniform burned, his face marked by battle scars. Even in chains, there's something calm about him. Something Ralos can't understand. The other aliens whisper. "That one. He led the defense of Delta Base. He destroyed 3 of our ships before we captured him. He is a monster." But when Ralos looks closer, he doesn't see a monster. He sees tired eyes, not filled with hate, but with sadness. Ethan sits quietly, looking at the flames rising from what used to be a human settlement. He whispers to himself, "We tried to save them." No one hears him except Ralos. The captain frowns. Why does he look sorry? Suddenly, a siren screams through the night. The ground trembles. Ralos turns sharply. What was that? One of the guards shouts, "Explosion near the east wall." "Unknown movement detected." The aliens raise their rifles, aiming toward the dark forest beyond the colony. Something moves in the shadows. Fast, low to the ground, and silent. The commander shouts, "It's the Karn." "They're attacking." At once the camp explodes into chaos. Energy bolts light the sky. Zerath soldiers run for cover. In the pit, the human prisoners duck as pieces of metal and fire rain down around them. Ralos draws his plasma blade. He looks back. The commander is already barking orders. "Secure the prisoners! Don't let them escape." But Ralos hesitates. He looks again at Ethan. The human is standing now, scanning the shadows. His eyes are focused, sharp. The eyes of a soldier trained for chaos. Then something unexpected happens. Instead of running for cover, Ethan shouts to the other prisoners, "Stay down! Behind the transport wreck!" He pushes a wounded human soldier out of the open, just as a blast hits where they were sitting. Dust and fire explode around them. The aliens watch in disbelief. One whispers, "He's protecting them." Another explosion, closer this time. Sparks shower over the camp. A shadow leaps from the smoke. A Karn warrior with black armor and glowing red eyes. It's fast and deadly, carrying a blade that hums with energy. The alien guards open fire, but the Karn cuts 2 of them down before they can reload. One Zerath screams for help. Another runs. Ethan watches from behind the wreckage. He could hide. He could let them fight each other. But instead he looks around, finds a broken metal rod and grips it like a weapon. Ralos sees it. Confusion and shock mixing in his mind. What is he doing? "He's our prisoner!" The Karn rushes toward a group of aliens, the commander among them. Ralos shouts a warning, but it's too late. Then, a blur. Ethan charges from the side, swinging the metal rod with full force. It slams into the Karn's arm, knocking the blade away. The alien roars and turns toward him. Ethan dodges, kicks, grabs the creature's weapon, and stabs it once through the shoulder. The Karn falls. The Zerath guards freeze, stunned. A human prisoner, I'm saving them. Ralos runs forward, pointing his weapon. "Stop, human, drop it!" Ethan tosses the weapon aside and steps back, breathing hard. He says quietly, "It's dead." "You're welcome." Silence spreads through the burning camp. Even the commander doesn't speak. For a long moment, only the wind and the distant sound of fire can be heard. Ralos looks at Ethan again. and something inside him changes. He can't call him a monster anymore. He just saw a man risk his life to save others, even his enemies. As the night grows darker and the fires slowly die, Ralos keeps watching the human. Ethan sits down again, calm, almost peaceful, as if saving someone was simply normal. But deep in the shadows beyond the camp, more movement stirs. The Karn are not finished, and soon, both alien and human will face something far worse than war. The truth about what it means to be human. The night was not over. Smoke still rose from the battlefield. Broken ships burned in the distance, their metal glowing red like dying stars. The Zerath soldiers were still searching for hidden enemies, their weapons glowing blue in the darkness. Captain Ralos stood near the fence, his mind racing. He could still see it in his head. The human Commander Ethan Ward saving them all from that Karn attacker. It didn't make sense. Why would a human, their sworn enemy, protect them? The Zerath commander barked orders. "Double the guards! Chain every human tighter. No one moves without command!" But Ralos didn't move. He was still watching Ethan, who sat quietly again, his face calm despite the firelight. Ethan had returned to the corner of the prison pit, helping another wounded human. He tore a strip from his burned uniform and tied it around the soldier's arm to stop the bleeding. He said nothing, just worked in silence. Ralos turned away, trying to shake the image from his mind. He's a killer, he told himself. All humans are. But the thought didn't feel right anymore. Hours passed. The sky began to glow faintly, a dark red dawn rising over the battlefield. Zerath patrols moved among the wreckage, pulling out the wounded and counting the dead. Then came a shout from the far end of the camp. "Captain Ralos, you should see this." Ralos walked over, his boots crunching on metal and ash. When he reached the soldier, he stopped in surprise. Lying on the ground was a Karn warrior, the same species that had attacked them in the night. He was still alive, barely. His armor was shattered, one arm missing, breathing shallow. The commander looked down at him with disgust. "A Karn, here? Leave him. Let the scavengers have him." The wounded alien groaned weakly, his voice full of pain. Ralos hesitated. "Sir, he's not dead yet." "So?" The commander snapped. "He would have killed us all. Finish him if you must." Ralos nodded slowly, but he didn't move. He looked again at the dying alien, the enemy. Then he looked back at the human prisoners. Ethan was watching. Their eyes met, alien and human, across the smoky field. And then, without warning, Ethan stood up. He walked toward the fence, his chains clinking against the metal. "Let me help him," he said. The Zerath guards pointed their weapons. "Stay back!" But Ethan didn't stop. "He's dying," he said. "You don't have to kill him. I can stop the bleeding." Ralos blinked in disbelief. "You would help him?" Ethan nodded. "He's hurt. That's all that matters," the commander laughed harshly. "You humans pretend to be noble, but we know what you are. Monsters. You destroy everything you touch," Ethan said quietly. "Maybe, but right now I see someone who needs help." For a moment, no one moved. Even the wind seemed to pause. Then Ralos spoke softly. "Open the gate." The commander turned in shock. "What did you say?" "Open it," Ralos repeated. "Let's see what the human does." The guards hesitated but obeyed. They pushed open the fence just enough for Ethan to walk through, still chained. Ethan moved carefully toward the wounded Karn. The alien looked up at him, confused, weak, and afraid. "Why, help me," the Karn whispered. Ethan knelt beside him and said, "Because you're still alive." He pressed his hands against the wound, using part of his uniform as a bandage. He worked quickly, his movements steady and calm. Ralos watched in silence. The commander folded his arms, sneering. "He's wasting his time." Minutes passed. The Karn groaned but started to breathe more evenly. The bleeding slowed. When Ethan finished, he looked up at Ralos. "He'll live, if you give him water." Ralos didn't move. He just stared at the human, the man who had just saved their enemy. The commander snapped, "Enough of this! Get him back in the cage." The guards pulled Ethan away roughly, dragging him back to the prisoner's pit. He didn't resist. He just looked over his shoulder once more, checking that the Karn was still breathing. That night, Ralos couldn't sleep. He sat outside the command tent, staring at the stars. His mind was full of questions he didn't want to ask. Why did he do that? What did he gain? If humans are monsters, why does he care who lives or dies? He thought of the stories he had been told as a child, stories of humans burning worlds, killing for pleasure. But now those stories felt wrong. He remembered Ethan's words, because he's still alive. Simple words, but they hit harder than any weapon. Ralos rubbed his hands over his face. He didn't want to believe it, but he was starting to see something new. Maybe humans weren't monsters. Maybe they were something far more dangerous, creatures who felt compassion even for enemies. As the night deepened, a low growl echoed from. The sun rose weak and red over the destroyed colony. Ash floated through the air like gray snow. Most of the Zerath soldiers were still tired from the night's attack. They walked among the wreckage, repairing fences, counting supplies, and burning the bodies of the dead. But Captain Ralos was not thinking about the battle. He was thinking about the human, Commander Ethan Ward. Ralos had seen many strange things in war, but nothing like that. A human saving a Karn enemy? It made no sense. Every story the Zerath ever told said humans had no mercy, and yet Ethan had shown it. As Ralos walked past the prisoner pit, he saw Ethan sitting quietly in the corner again. He was helping another human soldier drink from a metal cup. The chain on his wrist clinked softly as he moved. He didn't speak much, only short words of comfort, calm and steady. When Ralos looked at him, Ethan raised his eyes for a moment. They weren't the eyes of a monster. They were tired, sad, but full of something powerful. Hope. Ralos looked away quickly. He didn't want the other soldiers to see him staring. Inside the command tent, the Zerath commander shouted orders. The Karn will strike again. Prepare the prisoners for transport to the main base. If any resist, kill them, Ralos frowned. Kill them? They can't even fight. Most are wounded. The commander glared. You're getting soft, Captain. Do not forget, these humans destroyed 3 of our colonies. Ralos said nothing. He saluted and left, but the words didn't leave his mind. Outside, he saw the Karn warrior Ethan had saved the night before. The creature was still alive, lying under a tarp, weak but breathing. The medics had bandaged him. After all, they couldn't explain why a human prisoner would save him. Now everyone wanted to know why. Later that day, Ralos approached the human pit again. He ordered the guards away. Ethan looked up as Ralos stepped closer. What do you want? He asked, voice calm but firm. Ralos stared at him for a moment. Finally, he said, why did you do it? Why help a Karn? He would have killed you without thinking. Ethan smiled faintly. Maybe, but someone had to stop the bleeding. That's not an answer, Ralos said sharply. You're at war. You're supposed to hate them. Ethan's eyes softened. Hate doesn't save lives. It only makes the fire burn longer. Ralos didn't know what to say. No human had ever spoken to him like that. Not with anger, but with calm truth. He turned to leave, but Ethan spoke again. Captain, he said quietly, you've seen enough war to know it never ends if no one chooses to stop it. Ralos froze for a second. The words echoed in his head. Chooses to stop it. He left without replying. But inside, something had changed. That night, the camp was quiet. Only the hum of the electric fences and the soft wind broke the silence. Ralos couldn't sleep. He sat alone by the fire, cleaning his weapon, staring into the flames. Suddenly, one of his soldiers ran up. Captain! There's movement, near the south wall. Ralos jumped to his feet and followed. They reached the edge of the camp, where 2 guards stood nervously beside a fallen section of fence. Something had cut through it, gnawing from outside. Blasters ready, Ralos ordered. The darkness moved, shapes slipping between the smoke and trees. Then came a low growl. Karn soldiers. The attack began. Energy blasts tore through the camp. Tents exploded. Zerath soldiers scattered in panic. Ralos shouted orders, trying to organize them, but chaos swallowed the night. In the middle of it all, the human prisoners were still chained. Bullets and fire rained down around them. Ethan looked up, eyes wide. He saw guards running, flames rising, shadows of Karn warriors moving closer. He knew they weren't coming to save him. They were coming to kill everyone. He turned to the other prisoners. Get down! Stay behind the crates, he yelled. A burning beam crashed near the fence. Ethan didn't hesitate. He pushed 2 wounded soldiers out of the way, shielding them with his body. Then he saw it. The Karn he had saved earlier, still lying near the edge of the camp. The creature was awake now, trying weakly to crawl away as the fire closed in. Ethan stared for a moment. He could run. He could hide. But he didn't. He ran straight toward the flames. Rallos saw it happen. The human, still chained, sprinting through the fire toward the dying Karn. "Stop him," a soldier shouted. Rallos raised his hand. "No. Let him go." Ethan reached the Karn and pulled him free from the debris. He coughed, smoke stinging his eyes. The alien looked up weakly. "Why again?" "Why save me twice?" Ethan smiled through the soot. "Because someone has to." Another explosion threw them both to the ground. Ethan rolled over, protecting the alien with his own body. From the tower, Rallos could see it all. A human saving the same enemy twice, while everyone else fought to survive. The sight hit him harder than any weapon. The choice Ethan made was not just to save a life. It was to prove what being human really meant. By dawn, the battle ended. Smoke covered the land once again. Hundreds were dead, Zerath, Karn, and even humans. But one image stayed in Ralos's mind. Ethan Ward, chained and wounded, still trying to lift the Karn soldier to safety. Rallos realized something that morning, something his people had never believed. Maybe humanity wasn't dangerous because of their rage. Maybe they were dangerous because of their heart. And deep inside, Rallos began to wonder if the real monsters were never humans at all. The sun disappeared behind dark clouds again. Ash fell slowly from the sky, covering everything in gray dust. The Zerath camp was half destroyed from the night before. Broken tents, burned ships, and dead soldiers lay scattered across the field. Captain Raylo stood near the center of the camp, his armor covered in smoke and blood. He had spent the entire night fighting, not only the Karn attackers, but also his own doubts. He looked toward the prison area. The fences were torn, the ground blackened by fire. Inside, the human prisoners sat quietly, chained but alive. And among them, Commander Ethan Ward, weak, bruised, yet calm as ever. Raylo still couldn't understand him. A human who saved enemies, a soldier who fought without hate. It made no sense. Yet somehow it made perfect sense at the same time. He turned as his superior officer approached, Commander Zerak, a tall Zerath with scarred armor and cold, pale eyes. Zerak's voice was sharp. "Captain Rallos, I heard the human risked his life again during the attack." Rallos nodded slowly. "He did." Zerak frowned. "And you let him?" Rallos hesitated. "He saved one of our own men. He also saved a Karn." Zerak's voice hardened. "Enough. These humans are not heroes. They are tools of destruction. You think his kindness is real? It's a trick. He wants your sympathy so he can escape." Rallos didn't reply. He couldn't. Deep inside, he knew Zerak was wrong. The commander leaned closer. "Listen well, Captain. We end this now. All prisoners will be executed at dawn. No more risks. No more mercy." Rallos stared at him, shocked. "Executed? They're unarmed. Some are injured." Zerak's tone was cold as ice. "So are our people, because of them. Do your duty." He walked away, leaving Rallos standing in silence. The sound of wind and burning fires filled the air. That night, Rallos didn't sleep. He walked alone through the ruins, thinking about what Ethan had said days ago. "If we stop helping others, we become the monsters you think we are." Those words echoed louder now, because tomorrow he would be ordered to kill a man who had saved his life. He stopped near the med tent. Inside, the Karn warrior Ethan had rescued was still alive, weak but conscious. The alien's voice was hoarse. "Where is the human?" Rallos looked at him. "He's still chained." "Why do you ask?" The Karn smiled weakly. "He saved me twice. You should free him." "That one has a soul made of fire, not for killing but for light." Rallos said nothing. He left quietly, but those words cut deep. Just before dawn, alarms blared again. Explosions shook the camp. Zerath soldiers shouted in panic. Rallos ran outside when the horizon glowed red. Dozens of Karn ships were descending from the clouds. Their engines screamed across the sky, firing plasma down onto the camp. "The Karn are back," someone shouted. Blasts hit the ground, tearing through fences, throwing soldiers into the air. Rallos grabbed his weapon and yelled, "Defensive positions! Protect the med tent!" The scene turned into chaos. Zerath soldiers scattered, firing wildly. Flames consumed the camp once more. Then Rallos saw the prisoner pit. A burning beam had fallen across it. The humans were trapped. He rushed toward them, but stopped when he saw Ethan already moving. Despite the heavy chains, Ethan was pulling debris away from the others. His arms bled, his face burned from the heat, but he didn't stop. Rollo shouted, "Ward, get down, you'll be killed!" Ethan looked up, coughing from smoke. "Not yet," he said. "I still have people to save." Another explosion hit nearby. The ground split open, throwing Rollos to the ground. When he looked up, he saw something terrifying. A Karn dropship landing right beside the camp. From it, a group of armored Karn soldiers poured out. They moved like shadows, fast and deadly. One of them spotted the pit and roared, "Humans!"
"Kill them all!"
Ethan grabbed a fallen weapon from the ground and a broken rifle. It had only one shot left. He aimed, fired, and hit the Karn leader straight in the chest. The alien fell. The others turned their weapons toward him. Ethan stepped in front of the other prisoners, shielding them. He spread his arms, standing between his people and the enemy. "Run if you can," he shouted, but there was nowhere to run. Rollo saw everything from across the flames. He raised his blaster, firing at the Karn soldiers attacking the pit. 2 fell. Then he charged forward through the smoke. The battle turned into chaos. The morning after the battle was quiet. Too quiet. Smoke drifted slowly across the broken camp. Bodies lay scattered, Zirath, Karn, and humans together in the same dust. No one moved. No one spoke. Only the wind whispered through the wreckage. Captain Rollo stood near the ruins of the command post. His armor was cracked, his face burned from fire. But his mind was burning for another reason. He looked across the field where Commander Ethan Ward sat beside the wreckage of a destroyed vehicle. The human's arm was wrapped in blood-soaked cloth. He looked exhausted, but alive. Rollos walked toward him. Ethan looked up, tired but still calm. "Guess we survived another day," Ethan said with a weak smile. Rollos didn't answer. He knelt beside him, checking his wounds. "You need medical care. You'll die from infection." Ethan chuckled softly. "You say that like dying is the worst thing that can happen out here." Rollos stared at him. "You're insane." "Maybe," Ethan said, his voice gentle. "But if I can still save someone, even for a second, it's worth it." For a moment, they both sat in silence. Around them, the camp burned quietly. Then a sound broke the silence and the roar of engines above. Rollos looked up, and his heart froze. Dozens of Zirath command ships were descending through the clouds. The Empire's high command had arrived. Soldiers rushed to form ranks. Zirath banners rose again, black and silver under the gray sky. From the largest ship, a tall figure stepped down, Commander Zerak, his armor now repaired and gleaming. He looked furious. Zerak's voice thundered across the ruins. "Captain Rollos! What is this chaos? You allowed the humans to live. You allowed our camp to burn?" Rollos straightened. "The Karn attacked before dawn. We barely survived. Without the humans' help, we'd all be dead." Zerak's eyes narrowed. "Help from them?" He turned and pointed at Ethan. "That thing is a murderer, Captain. His kind destroyed entire planets." Ethan didn't move. He stood slowly, his hands still chained. "I didn't come here to destroy," he said quietly. "But your people gave me no choice when they started this war." Zerak sneered. "You dare speak to me, human?" Ethan met his gaze. "If you want to kill me, then do it. But don't pretend you're better than us." The air went still. Every soldier stopped moving. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Zerak stepped closer, his face twisted in anger. "Execute him," he ordered coldly. 2 guards moved forward, raising their weapons. Rollos froze. His chest tightened. "No," he said. Zerak turned sharply. "What did you say?" Rollos swallowed hard. "You can't kill him. He saved my soldiers. He saved even your command aide. He saved you, Zerak. You were trapped under the wreckage yesterday. Who do you think pulled you out before the fire reached you?" Zerak stopped, confused. "That's a lie." Rollos met his eyes. "Is it?" The truth was simple. Ethan had dragged Zerak from the fire before anyone else could reach him. He could have left him to die. But he didn't. Rollos continued, his voice steady. "This human has done more for us than most of our own kind. And you call him a monster?" The soldiers began to whisper among themselves. Zerak's face twisted with rage. "Enough, you're speaking treason, Captain." Rollos took a step forward. "Maybe the real traitor is the one who can't see what's right in front of him." Gasps spread through the crowd. Zerak raised his blaster. Rollos didn't move, then a sudden sound. A sniper shot rang out, but it didn't hit Rollos. It hit Ethan. The human stumbled, clutching his chest. Blood spread across his torn uniform. He fell to his knees, gasping for air. "Ethan!" Rallos shouted, catching him before he fell completely. Jarak looked shocked. He hadn't given the order to fire. Someone from the crowd had acted out of fear or hate, but it was too late now. Ethan tried to breathe, his voice barely a whisper. "Guess that I won't finish that story I promised you." Rallos shook his head. "Don't talk. We can save you," Ethan smiled weakly. "No, I'm done running." He looked up at the dark sky. The war isn't about humans or aliens. It's about what we choose to be. He looked at Rallos. "Don't let them forget that." His hand fell from Ralos's shoulder, and he went still. Silence. Rallos felt his heart break. A man the galaxy called a monster had died saving others. Jarak stepped forward, his expression unreadable. Rallos glared at him. "This is what you wanted, isn't it? Proof that humans are dangerous?" Jarak's eyes lowered slightly. For a moment, even he looked uncertain. He turned away. "Burn the body. End this." Rallos clenched his fists. "No, we honor him." Jarak stopped, his tone cold. "You dare defy me again?" Rallos looked around. Dozens of soldiers were watching. Many of them nodded silently in agreement. Even they had seen what Ethan did. Rallos spoke loudly, his voice shaking but strong. "He saved our lives. He saved your command. You will show him respect." Jarak's face darkened, but he didn't stop them. He turned and walked away, leaving the soldiers in silence. That evening, Rallos and his men built a small pyre on the hill overlooking the ruins. They placed Ethan's body there, wrapped in a clean Zerath flag, a sign of honor. The fire burned slowly, sending sparks into the dark sky. Rallos stood beside it, his eyes filled with grief and respect. He whispered softly, "You weren't a monster, Ethan Ward. You were more human than any of us." The flames rose higher. In the distance, thunder rolled through the clouds, and somewhere deep inside Ralos's heart, something changed forever. He turned to his men and said, "From this day on, we fight not for the Empire, but for what's right." The fire burned until dawn. The sky was painted red and gold, like the universe itself was saying goodbye. Captain Rallos stood in silence, his eyes fixed on the flames. He could still see Ethan Ward's calm face in his mind, the man who had saved enemies, defied orders, and died without hate. Around the camp, every soldier stood quiet. No one spoke. Even the wind seemed to move gently, as if afraid to disturb that moment. When the fire finally died, only ashes and a few glowing embers remained. Rallos turned to his men. "Let it be known," he said softly, "that a human saved us all." No one argued. Not even the officers who once called humans monsters. Days later, the Zerath command ordered the surviving troops back to their fleet. The war with the Karn Empire still raged, and new battles were waiting. But something inside the soldiers had changed. As Rallos boarded his ship, he looked one last time at the burned colony below. He whispered, "Rest easy, Ethan, the galaxy will remember." 2 weeks later, the Zerath capital, Harkon Prime. The Grand Council chamber was full. Dozens of alien commanders gathered around a massive table, their voices echoing through the marble halls. At the head sat Commander Jarak, his expression cold as ever. But beneath his armor there was something new, silence, hesitation. Rallos entered the room. He was summoned to give his report. Jarak's voice was sharp. "Captain Rallos of the 7th Division, you defied orders. You protected a human prisoner. Explain yourself." Rallos stepped forward slowly. He saluted, then raised his head. "I didn't protect a human," he said. "I protected a good man," the council murmured. One alien commander sneered, "A good man? Humans burned our colonies." Rallos nodded. "Maybe they did. But this one saved yours." He stepped to the center of the room, placing a small metal tag on the table, Ethan Ward's dog tag. It was scratched and burned, but the name was still readable. "This belonged to the man you called a monster," Rallos said. He pulled Commander Zarak from the fire with his own hands. "He saved our soldiers when the Karn attacked. And when the time came, he gave his life to protect us from his enemies." The hall went silent. Rallos looked around, his voice growing stronger. "You tell stories about humans being dangerous. Maybe that's true. But you never tell the other story. The one where they're brave, loyal, and kind even when everyone hates them." One elder stood up. Why should we believe you? Ralos turned toward him. Because I was there, I saw it. And I will carry his memory until my last breath. He placed the dog tag back in his pocket. If that makes me a traitor, so be it. But if understanding compassion makes me human, then maybe that's not such a bad thing. The room stayed silent for a long time. Jarak finally spoke, his tone quieter than before. What do you suggest we do with this information? Ralos looked up. Remember it, tell it. Let the galaxy know that not all monsters have human faces and not all heroes wear our colors. Months later, across the galaxy, stories began to spread. Not from governments, not from soldiers, but from whispers, from witnesses. On distant worlds, people spoke of a human soldier who had saved his enemies. They called him the Stranger of Fire. Others named him the human who chose mercy. And slowly, those stories reached places even the Council couldn't control. On a small mining planet, a Zereth child asked her father, "Are humans really monsters?" The father smiled sadly. "Once I thought so, but now, I think there's something else." A year later, the edge of the galaxy, Ralos' ship drifted through the quiet stars. He had been reassigned to patrol duty, far from the Empire's center. But he didn't mind. Every night he stood by the viewing window watching the endless void. Somewhere out there he believed Ethan's people still lived, fighting, surviving, hoping. He opened his logbook and began to record. Captain's log, day 412. The war continues, but I see things differently now. A human once told me that kindness is a weapon stronger than fear. I didn't understand then. I do now. He paused, then smiled faintly. If anyone finds this log, remember this. The galaxy called humans monsters. But one of them died, proving that mercy is